Here is Bill Barr. Now, apparently the latest, I mean, folks, obviously, there's a lot better places to go if you want to get information on Jeffrey Epstein. And I don't know what happened. It is shocking that the guy was in a position that he could commit suicide. That is, I think, obvious. What I have seen is this. This seems to me to be the most sort of like lays it out here. This is from the Washington Post. Correction officers had not checked in on financier and registered sex offender Jeffrey Epstein for several hours before he was found hanging in his cell Saturday. This is a person familiar with the matter. Now, who knows who these people are? Officers should have been checking Epstein, who was being held in a special housing unit of the Metropolitan Correctional Center in New York City every 30 minutes. And under normal circumstances, he should have had a cellmate. So there was like a perfect storm of things that showed up here. It's really weird. But a person who had been assigned to share a cell with Epstein had transferred on Friday, before the weekend, probably when they're short-staffed. And for reasons that investigators are still exploring, he did not receive a new cellmate. That left Epstein, who had been previously placed on suicide watch. The guy was placed on suicide watch 2.5 weeks ago. What had improved so much in his life from July 25th to August 9th that he's like, he doesn't need a suicide watch anymore. He just seems so much more chipper now. That seems to be a weird question. Why there was no cellmate put in there? Why was that cellmate transferred in the first place? Apparently his suicide was listed as an apparent suicide. They're still waiting for more information from the coroner. I mean, I'm not surprised. If the guy committed suicide, would that surprise anybody? The question is like,
how was that allowed?
How was he allowed?
I don't think he committed suicide.
You don't?
Nope.
I think he did.
A whole generation just got red pilled about this. Everybody has conspiracy theories, and I agree.
I do not have a conspiracy theory, but it would not surprise me that someone who had tried to commit suicide before would try to commit suicide again. He had every reason to think that he was not going to escape this situation without being in prison for the rest of his life. And I don't think you want to be known as a billionaire child molester in prisons. Probably not the best situation to be in. The question is, was this just a total coincidence, incompetent? Look, people commit suicide in prison all the time. But the idea that there wasn't a special watch on this seems very odd. The two corrections officers assigned to watch the special unit in the detention center where Epstein was being housed were working overtime, one forced to do so by management, the other for his fourth or fifth consecutive day. This is according to the local union. The correctional center is functioning for less than 70% of needed correctional officers. Epstein was not on suicide watch Saturday before he was found. But because he was held in the facility's special housing unit, he should have been checked every 30 minutes. And that procedure was not being followed. Cameras are prevalent in the facility, but they generally don't see inmate cells. He was taken off a suicide watch a week later, brought to the special housing unit, where there was supposedly a higher level of security, but not constant monitoring. And union officials said that he and other officials had long been raising concerns as the Trump administration had imposed a hiring freeze and budget cuts on the Federal Bureau of Prisons. In other words, mission accomplished. So I don't know. Here is Bill Barr. He is just outraged that this could happen. Shocked.
Yeah, right.
Shocked.
Before I begin, I'd like to briefly address news from the Manhattan Correctional Center over the weekend regarding Jeffrey Epstein. This sex trafficking case was very important to the Department of Justice and to me personally. It was important to the dedicated prosecutors in the Southern District of New York and to our FBI agents who investigated the case and were preparing it for trial. Most importantly, this case was important to the victims who had the courage to come forward and deserved the opportunity to confront the accused in the courtroom. I was appalled, and indeed the whole department was, and frankly, angry to learn
I don't think so.
of the MCC's failure to adequately secure this prisoner. We are now learning of serious irregularities at this facility that are deeply concerning and demand a thorough investigation. The FBI and the Office of Inspector General are doing just that. We will get to the bottom of what happened, and there will be accountability. But let me assure you that this case will continue on against anyone who was complicit with Epstein.
Yeah, specifically, he's probably talking about, wasn't George Mitchell and Bill Richardson's, like, their names came out? Was it George Mitchell? Will you double check that? I think it was definitely Bill Richardson's, were named by one of the alleged victims as having been around. I don't know exactly what it was. That came out on papers, I think it was on Friday. And I'm not sure who it was. Was Virginia Jeffrey. It's an accusation by a woman who was allegedly trafficked, one of Epstein's victims. And also, I think she mentioned Bill Richardson as well. I mean, I think there's going to be a ton of names thrown around. But the question is, will they really genuinely pursue this going forward? I'm not aware of. There should be an ongoing investigation into who supposedly told Acosta in the first place.
Yeah, I want to know that answer.
I mean, because Acosta came out and said, I was told by higher ups to not pursue him. Right. Or whatever it is that he was told to lay off.
Like, who would have the authority over him like that?
And who would have the authority to say, like, any co-conspirators can walk too? It's all ridiculous.
It really is. And I don't know anything for sure, obviously. We don't, and we probably won't. But he was about to tell on some of the most powerful people in the world. So the fact that it seems like something fishy was going on, whether he was actually killed in jail or whether they just stepped away and let him kill himself, it seems like there's more to it here.
I think there has to be. Well, look, just to have that, like, it seems to me that it's malfeasance not to have, like, let's just assume that the MCC is that dysfunctional, which it could very well be. They don't give a crap. But the idea that there wasn't someone who says, like, hey, this is...
We're going to get our act together for this.
We better get our act together for this. Like, we're going to send a special emissary. We're going to have a federal representative there. You know what? I'm the guy who's going to say overtime for one guard to sit there.
And anything short of that looks an awful lot like an oversight.
Yes. Very convenient oversight.
That's all I'm saying.
Right.